A lot of players have been particularly praising the trade tree of this set, and when scouting for a game for today's VOD review, I stumbled upon a game from Dishsoap where I was just puzzled how he managed to navigate and already display such great foundational understanding of the set and the units in it. We are playing in an War encounter that gives every player on 3-3 2 completed items at random and 3 reforgers, therefore you can be thinking about possibly playing around those reforgers already on your first 2 augment selections. We are starting out with a Rengar, one of the top tier reroll units at the moment to be playing around. Kazakh's falling a little bit behind. I am expecting some buffs on, well, if you get a Blackthorn emblem, then the dude is absolutely insane, or with other emblems. But otherwise, with a potential Titan Slam, we could be considering trying to stack up on this Rengar. Otherwise, Sunfire is a decent slam, holding onto this Rakan pair, which is a great link to be playing around. And Pebbles still has shown great potential as a reroll option. Starting out with a Prismatic Opener, Lucky Gloves is something I definitely do not like be taking on to 1. You have the potential to gun for more gloves, and maybe if it's a component anvil start, you could be considering that. However, your cap is going to be reduced. Band of Thieves, if you are playing for hard tempo, but again, you're going to be locking out the items. Generally, item augments are great for tempo, but the thing with these Thieves Gloves is that later on they're going to be transitioned into your 3rd or 4th carry, and unless you're going to be able to string together that tempo, it's not going to be as worthwhile. Shopping Spree has returned, and this is best used when you could also utilize these rerolls during the mid game, because you're going to be having a lot of rerolls, and fully sacking the tempo value you could be providing is going to put you in quite a tough spot. But with charms in the game, you can definitely be fishing for those charms in mid game and trying to upgrade your board and string together a streak. Nesting Dolls is an interesting augment. I am not exactly sure how to evaluate it yet. I believe it might be a little bit underpowered, but maybe there is some potential to it. I am yet to see someone play around it, so I'll see. Hedge Fund is still at this reduced gold value, and it's just, you know, balls to the walls. The greater an econ openers we can make those extra thresholds sometimes, and then just go to the fast 9. I am not a fan of that game style, and no, Dishsoap isn't either. However, Component Quest is a new augment as well, and is great at establishing this tempo, especially in the PB when the early boards might be a little bit weaker. You definitely have that potential, and this could give us a potential 2 slams right away. We could be looking to tempo around it, and Dishsoap is going to be going with it as well. Probably we would want to be now trying to look to invest also in the combat charms, and trading them with a Giants build is not as bad of an option for this purpose, I believe. But maybe he's going to value that this board is going to be quite strong. How about get Brawler leveled for that Blackthorn as well? Going to be going with a very early game strong slam in form of a Sunfire, just because the fights are dragged out. The Sunfire gains a little bit more value, leaving that bow open that can be quite flexible for components. Seeing that maybe we're I was thinking that maybe he's just saying we're going to win this fight because this Rengar has some sustain, but unfortunately we're going to be picking up a loss. The Sejuani was able to hold down the fort just a little bit too long for ourselves. Nonetheless, this Rengar should, as long as we're playing around it for a little bit, be able to string together some econ back for ourselves. Tactician's Kitchen there, an augment that still procs at, I think, at 3 rounds, so it's incredibly strong on the bench. We're holding on to these Coven units, obviously going to be going against our plan, but the nice thing with Coven is that we could just simply be trying to tempo around it, and Camille too is a very strong unit to be playing around. She has shown great potential already early on. Elise reroll, might consider, I mean, as an out, you'd want a lot of bows and a lot of rods, but we do not have any of those rods at the moment. Let's see how we're going to be faring. Are we going to also buying this Wisp? Our recon situation is a little bit in a tougher spot, but we leveled, but we were able to win that fight before. Going to be picking it up. And it's going to be giving us 2 Kales, which definitely pays for itself, and alleviates our econ situation a little bit. You can see how he's opting to, rather than making this next econ threshold, holding on to all the possibility of playing around the strongest board, sacrificing those even the first econ interval, which is the most crucial one, just to be able to string together the strongest board possible, recognizing this Rengar might not be able to carry us as far, and is at least going to print us here a couple of gold right away. Going to even pre-level here, trying to establish that tempo dominance as much as we can. We have, I believe, it was still an open bow, so we could be considering, we made that Kraken. Interesting to see what we're going to be transitioning that into late game, but probably at the moment we're just thinking how to make our board as strong as possible. But we can pick up a sword here that allows us to slam a Giant Slayer, which is also a flexible item to be considering. Kraken, in my opinion, does lean potentially maybe playing into something like an Aphelios. Aphelios, a unit that generally does, most people think of him as a potential Rageblade holder, but in my opinion, that is just bad because he has rapid fire, is going to be gaining attack speed. Lunar, if he plays Lunar champion next to him, is going to be gaining attack speed. I do not think he wants that Rageblade. You would rather Kraken, fight, and then a little bit more leaning into that AD compartment. Going to be transitioning our carry to this Warwick right here, as we're able to slot in for Blackthorn, buff him up a little bit more, and he's going to utilize that attack speed a little bit better than the Rengar in itself. Pick up that Camille too now, so let's see if we're going to be going to also sacrifice our play, just player health, just to gain that a bit more gold, as that is our part where we could be struggling right now, that we are investing so heavily into this tempo option. We're not going to be on a 5 streak as a given, so unless we're able to convert this tempo into some form of a potential strong stage 4 board, we might be in a little bit of a troubles. Or we could have that extra HP lead as long as we're able to also tempo in stage 3, and then maybe look to cap out and play for the win out from there. And we can see already in multiple ways how he has navigated his board. The board still opted to be playing around this brawler bruiser core right here. Now slotting is Spriken, but I do not think that makes our board that much stronger. I am not fan of this Tristana unit myself. I don't know, I just maybe haven't found an itemization that would work on her. We're going to be getting a lot of duplicates here with a couple of extra gloves. Maybe it was lucky gloves game after all. And we cash out another sword from the, I believe, the round before. Should have been 3 components there with a duplicate of glove. I'm going to be making TG just for tempo purposes and transition our items onto the Camille. Probably, but this would be ideal if we could transition maybe the sword into some form of an AD survivability component if we wanted to be playing the strongest board right away. But if we saw necessary, could also just be slamming that IE. That it looks like, however, we're not going to be able to get through this. I believe that's a Ramos right there riding that Willump right there, and he's going to be having a lot of value tossed into him at the silver tier right now. Ideally, if we wanted to be pushing tempo here, we would be looking probably for some kind of a combat augment. Econ augment is not bad in our spot either. Healing orbs could be serving as that purpose, as we are playing a little bit more around the melee core, but the question is, how do we then transition this into the later stages of the game, and I am not sure on that part. Pandora's bench, I don't think our plan is really to be playing reroll, otherwise it's still at the silver tier a fine pickup to be gunning for on to the stage 3. Did not like it at gold tier. Pandora's items, we have a lot of items, and I assume he's quite satisfied with what he's slammed. He probably has something in the back of his mind where he can transition this into, and we're generally flexible around our slams. Find your center, not just a fan of it, how you need to position. Unless you have something like the Darius from set 16, it's quite tough to be playing around. Augmented power though, he's defaulting that as an option. He's maybe saying, alright, I have established my tempo, I've cashed out most of my components at here, maybe we can gun for a big spike that is hopefully going to be a prismatic augment that allows us for me to really be playing for this win out right here. We can also be slotting in 3 Coven here, so sacrificing this tempo, we are going to be, at least if we are going to be losing, getting a little bit of an extra resources from that. Still not sure how the Coven has landed as a cash out rate in my opinion, because the cash outs are a little lackluster in my opinion. They have given them some buffs, and we obviously do not want to end up in a position where, again, the straight is being balanced, allowed lower elo players, where top elo players just pick it up and it's pretty much a free win at the start of a set. Then it becomes a full meta across all elos as players get more accustomed with the set, and then at some point it becomes unplayable and again rises in the power. This has been the look at Animal last set, look at something like set 14. This has been a very prominent case. We are going to be picking up an artifact anvil right there, and we have also. We can pick this Horizon Focus, which is going to have some synergy with Rek'Sai, and going to be interesting to see who could be the late game holder of it. I know Hecarim probably could utilize it quite decently. This is definitely some kind of cooking, and he's already he has managed to puzzle me with his holds already. But we are holding onto these Vanguard units, so maybe we are playing into this Aphelios Vanguard version with that Kraken Slam and Giant Slayer that he can utilize so well. Also, another reason why we probably didn't want Pandora's items on 3-2 is obviously to be had all these extra reforgers coming in. We can just fix some components that we don't want. And yeah, speaking, he is going for this Aphelios version. Morgana can be slotted in. from the cash out, and we had one on bench. We find a pair already. We just don't really have the items for her, but we can transition. Perhaps this could be a stronger board right there. Right, Sentinel himself also has a stun, so that is also going to be a decent holder of this Horizon's Focus. Make some AP item for the Morgana. She has a quite low mana threshold already, so she can be definitely spam casting, and she's also obviously a generally amazing holder of utility, as you can see, especially when players are still clumping it early on in the set. You can just get immense value. I believe this is going to be one thing that's going to be separating a lot of players who have practiced on PB versus those who did not do so when it comes to the ladder at the start of a set, is realizing how much backline access there potentially can be, how you can position around your backline units so to keep them safe from cannons, from Assaults, from RE bombs coming in. Okay, those two are pretty much the opposite side, but nonetheless, there is quite a bit of a backline access, and not clumping is going to be essentially the biggest key. We do get a big double Morgana pile right there, so this is going to allow us to still continue pushing tempo, greatly stringing together the board together. Yes, we high rolled double Morgana, but we only needed one truly for this to work. But through constantly swapping out our board, making these aggressive slams, and then seeing where we can be leading this board, we have strung together a great tempo in these early stages of the game and fully capitalize on our Prismatic Augment, which does start out at a little bit of a downside of a power, and that is you have to be evaluating your lobby in more generally if you are going to be picking this item quest, because Prismatic Augments generally tend to lead to a lot of power being funneled into the lobby. Also interesting here, not opting to go for the blue buff for Morgana, going for the Deathblade, last Whisper Slam. So heavily inclining into this AD compartment. We have that Bramble back here mapped out. We also have the Mama Beak right there. So there are users of these items, but there's a player who is holding exactly these two units as well. Hope that he's not going for a full roll down. Last Augment coming in, Celestial Blessing. Again, this is another set where Ravagers do, if I'm not mistaken, gain Omnivamp. So your melee comp does not truly want this extra Omnivamp. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. They haven't tweaked with numbers, so it must be performing decent. At least throughout the last set. Radiant Relics, we have a lot of items already. We're playing quite a few carries, but I'm not sure if this is going to really give us that much needed. We have a lot of them. Master of All Origins could just maybe provide us with a Lux that we can utilize. Inferno, Primal are something that come to mind immediately that can be slotted in flexibly in most of the boards. He is defaulting Celestial Blessing though, maybe, I don't know, maybe against the backline access. Decent option, but tons of stats. Just a generic strong combat augment, and Lucky Gloves Plus comes in. It was a Lucky Gloves game unless they have made them mutually exclusive, which they might have at some point. Nonetheless, I believe Tons of Stats is the best option right now, because gambling on Lux would be just legit gambling right now, and we have our direction sorted in, and I do not think the Lux would really fit on this level 8 board. We're going to be opting to push levels, do not have that much gold truly, but we find a Sash that can be utilized as a decent carry right here, paired together with the Caitlyn. We can be still playing around 5 Coven despite that we opted to cash out. We have that HP lead, so as long as we are able to mitigate large losses onto the stage, we should be able to make it to the level 9, and the Ashe with these items still, you generally, she's great again at holding utility and having, you want her to be casting a little bit more, but even without IE, just with this raw AD pumped into her, she is doing immense amounts of damage. Find the Bramble back, going to be opting to use our free rerolls right here to see if we can opt to maybe a little bit improve our board. Find an Ivern. We have that HP lead, so we should be in a position where we can be going for a little bit more scaling onto him. Does make our positioning at the start here a little bit tricky. It might leave this Ashe a little bit of exposed if you want to hit a damage jump hex for her. Thankfully, it does not happen this fight, and we have found that Sentinel too, so we have a strong front line already established. Haven't found a single Aphelios though, I believe, so we have to be holding on to this Bramble back with these items right here. We have open TG. I do not recall if he had any open component. Scouting around, there is a single Aphelios player. There was someone with a lunar emblem as well, but there is also someone playing around Ashe. So now we have that HP lead, but we have to be wary with our gold situation, because it looks like when we make it to that level 9, we're going to be wanting a lot of gold. This is also an interesting take. Instead of going to be pushing for these extra cash outs, he's simply taking the smaller ones and then opting to just use them to make these econ thresholds, which I believe happened here. If But was at least 3 gold, I believe. Well, it's 4 gold value if total. I'm going to not want to be greeting the sentinel position. This simply, again, recognizing it might be a little exposed, and this also allows the sentinel to have a clear line for the backline with that horizon focus. Gives us another win to be put through, to just simply sit here and push levels. Are we going to be upgrading this at least? Okay, we bought the charm, so that's going to be breaking our econ threshold, just getting more power. We are on a 3 streak. Doubt that 5 streak might be in store, as probably a lot of players might be sending on for 1 to resending, because it doesn't seem that all of them have upgrades. But maybe we queue into a sacker. Nice, being on the opposite side here, you can see a single Ash shot from Ash 1 pretty much trickles the Ezreal down, the second one cleans it up, and oh, we had this charm that gives us gold on unit kills, so we are in an amazing spot to be picking, pretty much pushing levels right now. Might want to be, with this HP threshold, we probably would want to be sacking all the way to, well, the level thresholds are now 5-2 and 5-5, the intervals that is, so probably we are fine to be sucking to 5-5 with these 3 rounds, especially at 70 HP right now, and if we opted to go at 5-2, we would be, what, 20 goldish? And we probably want a lot to hit still, so looking to perhaps complete the last item onto this Morgana. Do not really have a mana item for her, but maybe we're evaluating that just simply going raw AP is going to be fine. Yeah, this is a full AP Morgana right here. She should be doing quite a bit of damage despite us not having any form of shred. Unfortunately, the Brambleback does get its research, and we have that Aphelios too on the opposite side, so we're definitely going to be contesting and want that extra gold, it seems. But let's see if he's going to be saying, no, I'm going to be trying to keep up the tempo and push, prevent perhaps some potential higher caps. Maybe I can find something to be flexing around, find that Loon right there, but still no Aphelios in sight. Going to be slotting in the Mama Beak right now to at least get the alpha mark onto the Brambleback right there, and scouting still, he's maybe skiing if we can be capping around the Saloon instead, but we have this Morgana too, which is still fine at 2 Invoker. The only part is that we don't have mana item, but maybe I would say that the Loon perhaps wants it even more. Still going for these 100 cash outs as a drip econ. Finally find a single Aphelios. Do not think it's time for Draven. Going to be picking up a component as we have a free component right there, but it seems that he did not want to be going for random. Just picked up a Reforger. Let's find that Tarek, so that is going to, well, we still need to, we have a Diana, so we are missing 1 Vanguard somewhere to be completing, at least I would assume, playing around 4 Vanguard or double traits of 2 Vanguard, maybe like a Mumu, but the Mumu is taken there, so I'm like using just the Juggernaut pair. We have some few emblems, and there's a guy with looks like 3 lunar emblems, so that's quite a strong presence right there. 5 lunar in my opinion is just extremely strong if you're able to get there, just the amount of attack speed you gain. Have the possibility of playing around Maokai right there, but it's just probably too late for him to be descaling to anything worthwhile. Find a lunar Luxon shop, and we have these lunar units, so she definitely can utilize, and she's going to be a holder of these AP items, allows us to open sell this Morgana to go for more rolls. I'm not sure if this makes the strongest board in immediate sense, because we do not have any upgraded carries at the moment. Well, we have the Brambleback, who is thankfully on the weak side. It's going to be able to clean up the fight, and we get some trickle damage onto the backline. The Sentinel, the true carry right there, bringing the last most important ult right there onto their backline, able to clean up the fight. And yeah, we're gunning still for Hecarim, and there is the Eclipse in the lobby as well. We pick up a Loon 2 now, though. Probably looking to transition some of the items to the Saloon. Going to improve our itemization onto this Brambleback, because it looks like we're just simply not going to be fighting this Aphelios too. No, raw AP Loon. This is going to be the largest moon falling from the sky once it actually takes. We just need to be able to stall long enough to get there. Narda's jump on our Sentinel is going to be taking that down. The Brambleback does park the Age of Night reset, and the moon just comes in at a nick of time. 13,000 damage. That's solid given there are only a few damage units left, and it does count overkill in the damage meters. I do not recall at the moment. Anyhow, worrisome part is that our frontline presence is Tarek 1, Diana 1, and then this Sentinel 2. And maybe we want to be marking this Sentinel perhaps just to simply gain a little bit more mana gen on our team. We have that Ivern scaling going for ourselves, but this also Lunar with the Ivern can make the positioning a little bit tricky if you find it in a little bit later stages of the game. I have a possibility for mana items, so Are we going to be gunning that? Pairing, yeah, going to be, it looks like transitioning at least a single mana item onto the Saloon, just because we want that moon crashing down a little bit faster. Ivern has decent shield and amp scaling with this AP, so this is completely fine. Not going to be carrying for ourselves, but hadn't helped us stall. Unfortunately, our Loon got taken out, but we have multiple threats. This Aphelios at 1 star, you can see, only has 1 true attack speed item, okay, 2 bow items, right? But, and Kraken is more even considered as an AD item in my eyes, well, in general as well, from the stats. You can see what happens when you have 5 Lunar. This guy is just going bananas with the, well, they have Mana Hex as well, but with raw AD at 1 star doing so much damage. So please do not build Rageblade onto this guy. Again, going up against this Gnar, who is going to once again assassinate our frontline, but the moon is coming down and is going to be cleaning up the fight. And it looks like we are, we're just completely cleaning this fight up here right away. Did not seem to be the highest cap of lobbies, despite the double prismatic, well, single prismatic, and then a gold augment. But also this player right here, there's a PB bug here with the prismatic destiny into the belt overflow onto one. Yeah, prismatic destinies, despite being called out twice, are still bugged. Nonetheless, still a wild game from Dishsoap right here. Constantly trying to play around the strongest board, understanding which units can carry which items. Even if they are not optimal, they can still make the great use of it to keep up with that tempo. Still opting to slide roll on stage 4 to look for possible board improvements, and stabilizing on a board that did not even truly translate to the final board state that we capped our game around. Particularly by finding this Lunar Lux, we identified that we are completely fine to be also capping around this 5 Lunar with a Loon 2 carry that just was bonkers with raw AP, and despite the lack of front time, we were still able to close out this game with just the raw item power that we had on ourselves, and this Ivern providing the necessary extra shielding. Overall, amazing display of the understanding of the set already just a few days in. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.